Hello everyone. On this video we will give a few examples of how to use quadratic equations in problem solving. Now I'm only going to give a few examples because, to be honest, there is no way I can give an example of every story problem you're going to encounter. Okay, so hopefully you'll kind of see how I approach each one, and it'll give you a few ideas on how to approach your problems. Okay, so first, these are kind of the guidelines or steps that I like to follow. Okay, so your first step is you want to understand the problem and what you're being asked to solve. Okay, a lot of times you can find out what you want to solve for in the last sentence. Okay, so try rereading or drawing a picture. That sometimes can help, either a picture or a diagram. Okay, so your second step, give any unknown values a variable and translate the problem into an equation, and then you want to solve the equation. Okay, so if you're writing these steps down, please feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and go to our first example. Alright, so for example, a cliff diver jumps from a platform. The platform is about 144 feet above the sea. The height, which we'll call h in feet, of a cliff diver above the ocean after t seconds is given by the quadratic equation h is equal to negative 16t squared plus 144. Forgetting about air resistance, so if we neglect air resistance, how long does it take for the diver to reach the ocean? Okay, so I drew a little picture here. And down here, we'll call that the sea level. Okay, so he's 144 feet above sea level on a cliff. So if he jumped off the cliff, we want to know how many seconds will it take before he splashes in the water. Oh, sea level should be ocean level. Not that it makes a difference, but there we go. All right. So first thing we want to do is figure out that our equation is h is equal to negative 16t squared plus 144. So we know h is height, so we'll just write it out. Height is equal to negative 16t squared plus 144. Okay. Now the thing is, if he's up here, his height is 144. If he goes down and jumps off into the ocean, as soon as he hits the water, his height is 0. Okay, so we know when he hits the ocean, the height is 0. We want to know when the height equals 0. Okay, since that's when he hits the water. So all we have to do is replace height with 0. So that gives us 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 144. Okay, now if this is the case, we can just solve for t. That will let us know how much time passed by until the height was equal to 0. Or you may have some problems where they say the height is equal to 5 feet or 10 feet. Whatever they want to know the height to, that's what that height value here will become. But in this case, they want to know when the height is 0 or when he reaches the ocean. All right, so we can go ahead and solve this. And really, we can make this a little bit easier, because we can go ahead and make that 0 is equal to negative 16, because we can factor 16 out of both of those. T squared minus 9, since negative 16 times 9, negative 16 times negative 9 is positive 144. Okay, so if we divide both sides by negative 16, those two cancel out. So we get t squared minus 9 equals 0. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip those around. So t squared minus 9 equals 0 over negative 16 is just 0. Okay, so here we have a difference of squares. So you can see, I'll just put that in a little corner. T squared minus 9 at t minus 3, t plus 3. Since t squared minus 9 is just t squared minus 3 squared. Okay, so this becomes t minus 3 times t plus 3 equals 0. So if we go ahead and set both of those to 0, that means t minus 3 equals 0, or t plus 3 equals 0. So for this one, if we add 3 to both sides, we get t equals 3. We subtract 3 to both sides here, we get t equals negative 3. Okay. Now the one thing we do know is that if he jumped off the cliff, it wouldn't land negative 3 seconds until he hit the water. So we know for a fact that time will not be negative 3. So we can just eliminate that one. So we know t equals 3. So from the time he jumped off the cliff, it took him 3 seconds to hit the ocean. Okay. It took the diver 3 seconds to reach the ocean. Okay, so that would be your answer. All right. Okay, so if you're still writing, please feel free to press pause. We're going to go ahead and go to our next example. Oh, straight out the papers here. There we go. Okay, so what if we have the square of a number plus 3 times the same number is 70? Okay, we want to find the number. All right, so with this one, I'm going to draw like a little diagram. Oh, if you're still writing the problem, feel free to press pause. Okay, so normally the square of a number plus 3 times a number is 70. Okay, so all I did was just rewrite it in this form. Okay, so the square of a number, we don't know what the number is, we'll call that x squared. Plus 3 times a number, again, we don't know what the number is, but that will be 3x, is, that means equal 70. Okay, so we have x squared plus 3x equals 70. But if we subtract 70 from both sides, we end up with x squared plus 3x minus 70 equals 0. Okay, so This is in the form where we can really apply the direct method of factoring. We find two numbers that multiply to equal our C value, and those same two numbers add to equal our B value. Okay, so in this case, we can see that 10 and negative 7 work, because 10 times negative 7 is negative 70, and 10 plus negative 7, positive 3. So we know that this will factor to become x plus 10 times x minus 7 equals 0. Alright, so now all we have to do is set both of those to 0. X equals x plus 10 equals 0. Or x minus 7 can equal 0. Okay, if we subtract 10 from both sides, we have x equals negative 10. Or if we add 7 to both sides here, we have x equals 7. Okay, so either one of those numbers could be your solution. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our next example. Again, if you're still writing, feel free to press pause. All right, you go bring this down. Okay, so what if we want to find two consecutive even integers whose product is 34 more than their sum? All right. Okay, so remember, two consecutive even integers and the same thing with odd integers. You can actually make it x and x plus 2. Okay, so just imagine if you had an even integer 4. 4 plus 2 would give you 6. So if you have an even integer 28. 28 plus 2 would give you 30. So you have 28 and 30. So the two consecutive integers. Same thing with the odd integers. If you had 31, you add 2 to that, you'll get 33. So 31 and 33 are consecutive odd integers. So when they ask for two consecutive odd integers, it's x and x plus 2. Okay, so just like before, I'm going to go ahead and write a little diagram. Okay, so you have the product of two consecutive even integers is $34. Well, what I'll do is $34 more than their sum. Okay, you can rearrange these a number of different ways. This just happens to be the way that I'm rearranging them for my little diagram. Yours might look a little different. Doesn't mean it's incorrect. All right, so the product of two consecutive integers, again, we don't know what the integers are, so we'll make it x times x plus 2, since product means multiply, is, that's the term for equals, 34, okay, more than, that's usually addition, okay, and their sum, okay, so you have the sum of the two consecutive even integers. So that would be x plus x plus 2. Okay, so you have the product of two consecutive even integers is 34 more than their sum. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going ahead and just write that completely out. So x times x plus 2 equals 34 plus, since this is positive, we can go ahead and just drop the parentheses. So that's x plus 2. Like I said, the parentheses around these really aren't necessary because it's all positive. If you had subtraction, then you'd have to distribute the negative sign, but since it's all positive, you don't have to do that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and combine like terms. So we can combine those two x values. We can combine those two values, and we can even go ahead and distribute to get rid of those parentheses. Okay, so if we go ahead and distribute this one, you have x times x, which is x squared, x times 2, so you have plus 2x, equals x plus x is 2x, 34 plus 2 is 36. Alright, so you have subtract 2x from both sides, and that actually disappears. So you have x squared equals 36. Just kind of straighten that up a little bit. Okay, now you can use the square root property here if you want to. Make that equal to, there we go. Or you can subtract 36 from both sides and have x squared equals, x squared minus 36, sorry about that, equals 0. And we see here that this is a difference of squares. So this would just factor into x minus 6 times x plus 6 equals 0. So we go ahead and set both of those to 0. So you have x minus 6. I'll do that one first since that appears first in our problem. So x minus 6 equals 0. Or x plus 6 equals 0. Alright, so if we add 6 to both sides here, you get x equals 6. And if we subtract 6 to both sides here, we have x equals negative 6. Alright, now we have to look at the fact that we solved for our integer, but we didn't solve for the consecutive integer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug both of those in. So when x is equal to 6, then x plus 2 is equal to 6 plus 2, which is 8. So that gives the consecutive integers 6, 8. But when x is equal to negative 6, then x plus 2 equals negative 6 plus 2, which is negative 4. So that gives us the two even integers, negative 6, negative 4. So those two would be your answer. So you could have 6, 8 or negative 6, negative 4 as your two consecutive even integers. Okay, but you would have to put both solutions into your problem. Into your answer. Alright. Okay, so if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and go to our next example. Alright. Okay, so if you need a little extra time to write this down, feel free to press pause. It says the length of a rectangular driveway is 4 feet less than 5 times the width. The area is 672 square feet. Find the width and length of the driveway. Okay, so again, if you need more time, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and solve this one. Okay, so we're going to draw a little diagram of a driveway. Doesn't have to be anything special. Just a rectangular driveway where we'll make this our width and we'll make this our length. Okay. Now we know that the length is 4 feet less than 5 times the width. So that means that our width, we don't know what that is, we'll make that equal x. And our length is equal to 4 feet less than 5 times the width. Okay. So we have 5 times the width, but 4 feet less than that. Okay, 4 feet less than 5 times the width. Alright, so moving on, this is where you have to kind of remember some of those old formulas. We know that for a rectangle, the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. And instead of the little x multiplication, I'll just use parentheses because I don't want to confuse that with the x's that we're using up here. So it's just length times width. Okay. So we know that the area is 672 square feet. So we can replace area with 672. And that's equal to the length times the width. So the length is 5x minus 4, and the width is x. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and distribute that. So that gives us x times 5x is 5x squared. I'm just switching it around. X times negative 4 is negative 4x equals 672. If you want to write 672 equals 5x squared minus 4x, you could also. I just like my variables and everything on the left side. Personal quirk. Okay, so if we subtract 672 from both sides, we have 5x squared minus 4x minus 672 equals 0. Okay, so now we have our quadratic equation in a quadratic form. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and solve it. You can use any method you like. You can use the A times C method. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula. We know that A is equal to 5, B is equal to negative 4, and C is equal to negative 672. Let me drop this down a little bit. Okay, so X is equal to negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, so that's your quadratic formula. Let me kind of separate that a little bit. Okay, so if we plug it in, negative b, so that's negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 4 squared, minus 4ac, so that's 4 times the a times the c, all over 2a, so that's 2 times 5. Okay, so if we go ahead and simplify those, we'll end up with -4, that's +4, plus or minus square root of 16, well, square root of -4 squared is 16. 16 plus, because you have minus and negative, 4 times 5 times 672, that comes to 13. Clean up that 3 a little bit. 13,456 all over 10. Okay, now the square root of 13,456 is 116. So that's going to equal 4 plus or minus 116 over 10. Alright, so of course we know this means that x is equal to 4 plus 116 over 10 or 4 minus 116 over 10. Move that up a little bit. Okay, so you have 4 plus 116 is 120. 120 divided by 10 is 12. So x equals 12. Or 4 minus 116 is -112. -112 divided by 10 is -11.2. But it doesn't matter because you have a negative length, which we can't have. No length is negative, so we can cross that out. Okay, so we have our x is equal to 112, which we're like 99% done because that just tells us the width. So the width is x equals 12. Okay, let me straighten that up a little. We still have to know our length. Our length, remember, that's 5x minus 4, which is 5 times 12 minus 4. Okay, so 5 times 12 is 60. 60 minus 4 is 56. So the length is 56 and the width is 12. All right. Okay, so if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and do another quick example. Okay, so let's say if we wanted to find the lengths of the sides of a right triangle, if the lengths can be expressed as 3 consecutive even integers. Okay, so it's a couple of things we have to remember here. And again, if you're still writing the problem, feel free to press pause. Okay, so you have a right triangle. Here, you have your leg of the triangle. And you have your hypotenuse. And that is usually the leg squared plus either leg squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. Okay, and that's your Pythagorean theorem. Okay. Also, you look at this problem, you have to know that your 3 consecutive even integers is x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. It will be the same thing with consecutive odd integers. Alright. So looking at our problem, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and separate that, because now we're going to actually start on the problem. We have a right triangle. Okay, so the lengths can be expressed as 3 consecutive even integers. Okay, so you have x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. Okay, so if we put that into a Pythagorean theorem, you have x squared, so you have one leg squared, plus x plus 2 squared is equal to x plus 4 squared. Let me clean that up. Our hypotenuse. Alright, so that gives us x squared. And just to avoid having too much extra stuff written around, x plus 2 squared is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. So this x plus 2 squared is just x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to x plus 4 squared, which is x squared plus 8x plus 16. So it's x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and start combining like terms and moving stuff over. Okay, so if we combine those two, we have 2x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so now we can go ahead and subtract x squared from both sides, where that cancels out. And we can go ahead and subtract 8x from both sides, where that cancels out. And we can subtract 16 from both sides, where that cancels out. So that gives us 2x squared minus 1x squared is x squared. Positive 4x, negative 8x gives us negative 4x. And positive 4 minus 16 gives us negative 12. Since everything subtracted on this side cancels out, that equals 0, because you have 0 plus 0 plus 0. Alright, so here we can factor this using the direct method. So we have to find two numbers that multiply to equal your C, and those same two numbers add to equal your B. Move that up. So in this case, looks like negative 6 and positive 2. So negative 6 and positive 2 is negative multiplied to give you negative 12, and negative 6 plus positive 2 is negative 4. So this factors to become x minus 6 times x plus 2 equals 0. Alright, so if we set both of those to 0, x minus 6 equals 0, or x plus 2 equals 0, add 6 to both sides, you get x equals 6. Subtract 2 to both sides, and x equals negative 2. Okay. So we already know if we plug in x, we'll get a negative number. So we can't have that. We can't have a negative side. Okay. So the side x, actually what I will do, I'll just redraw the triangle from right here. Now side x, we know that x is equal to 6. Side x plus 2, we know that 6 plus 2, which is equal to 8. And side x plus 4, that's 6 plus 4, which is 10. Okay, so those are the lengths of your three sides. Alright. Okay, so if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead to our next example. Let me straighten out the papers here. There we go. Okay, now for this example, we have the base of a triangle is 6 more than twice the height. The area is 88 square inches. Find the height and base of the triangle. Alright, so this is once again having to know all of those little formulas. So, quick note, the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay, so that's the formula for the area of a triangle. Okay, so if we draw that out, this is your base, and the distance from the base to the apex of the triangle is your height. We'll call that height right here. Okay. Now we know that the base of the triangle is 6 more than twice the height. So the height, we'll just call that h. Now the base, since that's 6 more than twice the height, okay, that's twice the height plus 6 more than that. Okay, so if we use our formula here, area equals 1/2 times the base times the height. We plug everything in because we're given that our area is 88 square inches. So that's 88 equals 1/2 times the base, which is 2h plus 6, times the height, which is h. So we just plugged everything in. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start distributing to get rid of those parentheses. So if we distribute the h, we have 88 equals 1/2 times 2h squared plus 6h. And if we distribute the 1/2, that would give us 88 equals 1/2 times 2 is 1, so that's just h squared plus 1/2 times 6 is 3, so that's 3h. So if we subtract 88 from both sides, that would give us h squared plus 3h minus 88 equals 0. And I just flipped that around just for my own purpose. If you wanted 0 equals h squared plus 3h minus 88, you could have that also. All right, so now we can go ahead and factor this. So we have to find two numbers that multiply to equal your c. And those same two numbers add to equal your b. Let me clean that up a little. There we go. Okay, so in this case, 11 and negative 8 works. So 11 times negative 8 is negative 88. And 11 plus negative 8 is positive 3. So this just factors to become h plus 11 times h minus 8 equals 0. Okay, so again, we just set both of those to 0, so that gives us h plus 11 equals 0, or h minus 8 equals 0. So if we go ahead and subtract 11 from both sides, we get h equals negative 11. We add 8 to both sides here, we get h equals positive 8. Okay. Now we can see here already that your height cannot be negative. So if we plug in h equals negative 11, that's automatically out. Okay, so we know our height is h equals 8. We kind of separate that a little bit. Bring that up some. Now your base, that's 2h plus 6. Since h is equal to 8, that's 2 times 8 plus 6. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 6 is 22. Okay, so your height is 8 inches, and your base is 22 inches. Alright, so hopefully this will give you an idea of how to approach some of your story problems. Again, you'll probably encounter many more that look nothing like these, but there are only so many story problems I can cover. Okay, hopefully this helped, and I will see you on the next video.